Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to comment on the 2026 budget statement that was presented by the Finance Minister. And at the outset, Mr. Speaker, comment that at a time when the security of this country is fast deteriorating, at a time when insecurity is on the rise, at a time when insecurity in Boko, sadly, is increasing the death tolls of our brothers and sisters, at a time when Sampa is in turmoil and insecurity is killing our brothers and sisters in Sampa, at a time when in President Mahama's own backyard, rather regrettably and sadly, insecurity displacing 48,000 residents, killing several hundreds of them, and displacing 23,000 as refugees, 10,000 as refugees in Burkina Faso, and 13,000 as refugees seeking refugee shelter in Ivory Coast. At a time when Galamsey has become a sophisticated national security threat and a criminal cartel, at a time when citizens no longer feel safe in this country, at a time when citizens fear for their lives and the situation deteriorating to a point that even security officers fear for their lives, men in uniform running helter-skelter for their lives, as we see on videos. At a time that not a single man passes without this country waking up to the sad news of killings of our security officers. One would have expected, Ghana expected, all of us expected that sensitively and prudently the resources of the state will be applied, aligned to the priorities of our national security strategy. But Mr. Speaker, to the disappointment of Ghanaians, we rather saw procurement, a budget of procurement related to the security sector, all aligned to luxury jets, all aligned to transportation aircrafts, complete disregard to the sensitive times that we live in. Mr. Speaker, this House has never opposed retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces. This House has never opposed the modernization of the fleet of the Ghana Armed Forces. This House has never, particularly on the side of the NPP members of Parliament, as history tells us by Hansard, from 2017 till now, always leading the charge and advocating for the retooling of our security agencies. And so if a time had come for the same group of our colleagues in the NDC, who as recent as 2024 opposed every attempt by President Akufo-Addo to retool the Ghana Armed Forces, opposed every attempt by the government of the day, President Akufo-Addo's government, to have conversations around a befitting aircraft to carry our soldiers and to carry the president, and indicated that there is a Falcon that, in their words, was in pristine condition and is one of the best in Africa, only for Ghana to wake up a year later that in addition to the so-called pristine Falcon aircraft in pristine condition, they want to blow several billions of cedis, 3.6 billion cedis in the budget. On page 202, 3.6 billion cedis on luxury aircraft, 2 luxury jets, in addition to the so-called pristine Falcon, all for the luxury and transportation of the president and the executive. Couldn't one have been enough? Couldn't we have been sensitive to the Ghanaians and our soldiers and prioritize the real needs that they have? When you talk to the soldiers, what they tell you is that Ghana Armed Forces is a fighting force, and therefore their priority is the battle readiness of our soldiers. But the NDC government, President Mahama, and the Finance Minister, Honorable Forson, who doubles as the acting defense minister, rather have chosen to turn the Ghana Armed Forces from a fighting force into a luxury transportation agency. That is rather sad. In this House, as a matter of record, the MPP government brought to the House, in line with national security strategy priorities, the acquisition of 6 fighter jets. The colleagues on the NDC side stood in this chamber to oppose it, save for my good friend and current chairman of Defense and Interior Minister, Honorable James Agaga. He was the only one who said that the House should not politicize it. He will speak shortly after me. He will corroborate this point. The rest torpedoed those efforts. When the soldiers requested for OPVs, offshore patrol vessels, to safeguard the territorial integrity of our waters, to safeguard our maritime security, NDC members of parliament opposed it. Today, now, all of a sudden, they have found priority in buying 4 helicopters and 2 luxury jets. In addition to the 2 offshore patrol vessels they opposed just less than a year ago. You can oppose OPVs and bring it back. We will support you. You can oppose an aircraft that can carry safely the president, the vice president, and the executive, and you will bring it back, and we will support you, but it should be modest. Just one would have been okay. Just one. We wanted to prioritize the safety of the president, but they opposed it and have crossed the lines into luxury for the president. That is insensitivity and hypocrisy on the highest level. Mr. Speaker, but one thing that is sadly missing is that of all the things they opposed, that now, Nicodemously, they want the whole of Ghana to use their taxpayers' money to support. They thought about their luxury and forgot about the soldiers. The 6 fighter jets are missing from the pages of this budget. There is not a single allocation to acquisition of fighter jets. So now, any aircraft can get into potentially our airspace, and the might expected of our Air Force to confront such unauthorized flights that has been jettisoned, so that the president and the party who opposed and politicized presidential jets can have 3 presidential jets, the Falcon and 2 additional fighter jets. Is that not insensitivity? Is that not complete disregard to the suffering of the ordinary Ghanaian? You opposed 1 and you want 3. Mr. Speaker, that said, at a time when this country were expecting that the Ghana Armed Forces and our Ghana Police Service will be resourced to be able to deal with a pressing security challenge, galamsey, that is now moved in from polluting our waters and destroying our forests to poisoning the very food, our staples, our favorite kontomire, our favorite cassava for fufu, our favorite menkeni for ampesi, poisoning our foods. At a time when unmanned aerial vehicles was what our security agencies requested for, so that they can fly these mighty aircrafts over unauthorized water bodies where mining is taking place, over unauthorized forests where mining is taking place and bastardizing our environment, so that perhaps without the intent to kill, but they can shoot to scare, and shoot to scare perpetrators of illegal mining poisoning our waters. They said no to UAVs, and they said yes to 3 private jets for the president to fly in. At a time when the same security officers you deploy to safeguard the waters in this country, you turn around and embolden foot soldiers to openly, brazenly attack them. This is the time we should have thought about reducing the interface of human intervention, even to possibly prevent possible compromises, as may be the temptation. But they said no to UAVs, and yes to 3 private jets. Mr. Speaker, I insist that when the estimates are brought to this House, we as a parliament exercising oversight with the responsibility of the security of our country in our hands, will insist priority alignment. We will insist that 2 of the helicopters must be dropped for fighter jets. We will insist that 1 of the luxury presidential jets must be dropped for UAVs so that we can save our country. Mr. Speaker, on 23rd of June 2025, on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, you will find the picture of President Mahama and the heads of our security agencies, the IGP, the Director General of Prison Service, the Chief Fire Officer, and the Controller General of Immigration, making a big announcement of 1 billion cedis to retool the security sector. They took the smiles, took pictures for front page. Even today, when you check the website of the presidency, the big announcement is there. Till date, from June till now, where is the 1 billion cedis to the Ghana Police Service to retool them? 419. Where is the 1 billion cedis to retool the fire service? 419.
Honorable Ntim Fordjour, kindly withdraw the word 419.
I am guided, Mr. Speaker.
Please withdraw.
And I withdraw 419.
Please withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, I take guidance and I withdraw. Where is the 1 billion cedis you promised the Ghana Police Service? You have deceived them. You have failed. You turned your backs on them. Where is the 1 billion cedis? You said that you will use it to retool the immigration service so that they safeguard our borders in the face of threats of violent extremism and terrorism. You promised to resource immigration with 1 billion cedis so that they would tighten our securities and increase the resilience against terrorists. You turn your back on them. And today you are making announcements. When you look into the budget, page 202, under Ministry of Interior, Mr. Speaker, apart from the salaries of our police officers, apart from the salaries of our immigration officers, apart from the salaries of our prison officers, there is no capex. There is no innovative, there is no substantial innovative. There is no substantial innovative capex. Mr. Speaker, the situation is so sad. When you visit our airport today, Mr. Speaker, and you visit the seaports, and you visit all the ports we have, Tamale Airport, Kotoka International Airport, our major airports, our Tema Harbour, you visit our Takoradi Harbour, these major entry and exit points, the only one intrusive narcotic detective scanner you find is at the Aviance cargo section. Only one. We don't have an intrusive narcotics detection scanner. So in this sophisticated technologies, where perpetrators can conceal cocaine, can conceal cannabis, can conceal all manner of illicit drugs, contrary to the rhetorics and the promise of President Mahama to fight these matters, the ports are open. The only scanners you have is the usual security scanners, not narcotic scanners. We called the Minister for Interior before this house. He made a pledge and before this very house that he will prioritize the purchases and installation of intrusive narcotic detective scanners. Mr. Speaker, in the budget, there is no indication of those. Is it an indication that those matters we have been raising, which you were denying, is it an indication that green light must be given for all to do what they want? Let us tighten the borders and ensure we invest into the fight against narcotics. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Prison Service have introduced strong innovations, going industrial, going agri, and going health. We were expecting that there will be allocation in the budget to be able to retool them in obtaining agricultural equipment, in obtaining industrial equipment, so that Ghana Education Service can outsource some of the uniform of our children to the Ghana Prison Service, even as a way of IGF. There is no indication of that. But as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the goods and services already inadequate allocation in here, we are pleading that it should not be, the trajectory of releases should not be like we saw in the year under review. There should be adequate releases commensurate with the needs. Let us not starve our security agencies. Let us invest and prioritize our security agencies. For Ghana is all we have, and it is.
All members, it's now the turn of Honorable James Agalga. You are speaking for 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My ranking member, Reverend Ntim Fordjour, the former Minister for Defense, Dominic Nitiwol, and Honorable Abu Jinapo, the member for Damango, in contributing to this debate, appear to be singing from the same hymn sheet. But, Mr. Speaker, there are a lot of inaccuracies that I would want to clear before I proceed to raise my substantive points before the House this morning. First of all, Reverend Ntim Fordjour says there is rising insecurity in this country. But he failed or omitted to furnish this House with statistics. Mr. Speaker, previously, when the NPP administration was in power, and I had the opportunity to debate their budget, I furnished this House with statistics, crime statistics, and struck comparisons between how the NDC in 2016-2012 thereabout fared, and how the NPP fared starting from 2017 all the way to the time they left power. I furnished this House with statistics. But he did not furnish us with statistics. All he said was that there is rising insecurity in Boko, Sampa, elsewhere. But the Boko conflict did not start today. In fact, the Boko conflict escalated under the watch of President Akufo-Addo before he left office. Mr. Speaker, because tensions are very high in Boko, I would not want to say certain things. I will not say certain things because as members of the Security Committee, Defense and Interior, we are required to be very, very careful when we make statements because we are privy to information that not everybody is supposed to be privy to. But all I can say is that the Boko conflict escalated under the watch of President Akufo-Addo. At the moment, we are trying to manage the Boko conflict in a manner that will result in what? Lasting peace to the people of Boko. Mr. Speaker, that said, when I listen to Reverend Ntim Fordjour, he says they try to read through the security services and the NDC members of parliament oppose them. Mr. Speaker, how did we oppose them? In 2024, President Akufo-Addo in his State of the Nation address indicated that they were going to read through the security services, and we all applauded him. But when the time for action came, they failed miserably. I'll give you an example, Mr. Speaker. President Akufo-Addo ordered that we procure 6 fighter jets for the Air Force. This House supported the deal. We supported the deal. Look at the hazard. Look at the hazard. Look at the hazard. We supported the deal. But where are the jets? Where are the jets? How did the deal end? Mr. Speaker, that deal did not go through because of the reckless management of this country's economy by President Akufo-Addo and his cousin, Ken Ofori-Atta, who led this country into a debt restructuring scenario. And because we're undergoing debt restructuring, the facility we took from the Czech Republic just didn't work, and so the jets never came. Whose fault is it that the jets never came? And now my ranking member, Mr. Speaker, is asking us to tell him where the fighter jets find expression in this budget. We should be asking you to tell us where the jets are. We should be asking you. When you spoke about the offshore patrol vessels, Mr. Speaker, an agreement, a loan transaction was brought before this House just before the 8th Parliament dissolved. But you know, as members of Parliament, we are required to do due diligence. And so without our prompting, even the one who brought the transaction before this August House, the Honorable Minister for Defense, was willing to withdraw the same loan agreement, and that was exactly what happened. So today, Mr. Speaker, if we have brought back the same transaction, budgeted for it, to procure 2 offshore patrol vessels so that we can properly manage our exclusive economic zone, protect our oil resources which are embedded in the belly of the ocean, I think the least my ranking can do is to lend us support, but not to refer us back to the situation whereby they attempted to rush this House into passing a loan agreement which was worth over 200 million euros. You didn't want us to do due diligence? I think one of the principal objectives of every member of parliament is to do due diligence and save this country money when financial transactions are brought before us. And that is what we shall do even with respect to this particular. Mr. Speaker, like I said before, so far my colleagues have all spoken from the same hymn sheet. The impression has been created that rather than retool the security services, the NDC government is intent on buying luxury jets. Mr. Speaker, this is a fallacy. This is a fallacy. The Air Force, and my ranking member knows, they have their critical requirements, critical needs. In fact, the Air Force ought to beef up its strategic lift capabilities. And in doing so, it is not just about a presidential jet, Mr. Speaker. It is about acquiring transport jets that can be used for medical evacuation, that can be used to transport our troops to peacekeeping operations. Mr. Speaker, the last time, as a country, is it not a disgrace that whenever we are sending our troops to peace operation theaters, we would have to hire airlines, private airlines such as Emirates, Egypt Air, to transport our troops to peace operations theaters? That is how serious the situation is. And so, Mr. Speaker, when you find in this budget the finance minister's submission that we shall acquire 2 aircraft, one for medium transport functions and the other for long-range transport operations.
Please, those standing should resume their seat. Honorable Kabiro, you can turn your back to the maze. Yes, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, so when you find an expression in the budget made by the finance minister to the effect that we shall procure 1 medium-range transport aircraft and another long-range jet, it doesn't mean we are buying luxurious jets for the president. In any case, Mr. Speaker, why are they even running away from the issue of the acquisition of presidential jets, assuming without admitting that one of the jets is a presidential jet? Why? Why did President Kufuor not procure the Dassault Falcon 300? When President Kufuor acquired it, did he ever sit in that jet as president for 1 day? No. I ask you the question. Did he ever sit in it for 1 single day? No. He did not. He did not. He did not. Mr. Speaker,